Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Former WBC champion Deontay Wilder said, "It's not about overpricing yourself out of a fight. Let us all get a piece of the pie."
Deontay Wilder has been accused of pricing himself out of the Anthony Joshua fight more than once, though this year he may yet get it.
If a deal can be made for the four heavyweights, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk, and Tyson Fury, to fight in December, they will all likely make career-high purses. I don't do all that stuff. Stipulations, Wilder told ES News. I don't put up too much of a fight as far as trying to get a fight done. I feel like we can all eat. That's how we should be.
Being able to help each other eat.
He's not being honest about things, and if I'm being honest, he usually isn't. Many years ago, when the Anthony Joshua fight first became a conversation, it was Deontay Wilder that put the fight off because he couldn't get a rematch clause.
No, wait, you gotta go further back.
He says that he doesn't put up much of a fight when making a fight.
Really?
Eddie Hearn at that time had offered Deontay Wilder $12.5 million. And at that time, that was approximately...
That was 6 times Deontay Wilder's highest purse. 6 times. Deontay Wilder at that time.
At that time, his highest purse was approximately $2 million. Eddie Hearn offered him 12. That was his initial offer to Deontay Wilder. Deontay didn't like it.
Some back and forth happens. Deontay comes up with that $50 million email. That goes nowhere. Then he eventually accepts Eddie Hearn's $12 million offer.
Or at least he said that he accepted it, only to end up sitting on the contract for over a week while the WBA was waiting on a response, waiting on an answer because there was a mandatory pending in Alexander Povetkin, a mandatory for Anthony Joshua. Deontay Wilder, he didn't sign the contract.
Nope.
WBA got fed up. They decided to order the mandatory.
What was his problem that time?
Well, first, he didn't like the money, and secondly, he ended up accepting the money, but he wanted a two-way rematch clause.
That's why he said he didn't sign.
At this time, Deontay Wilder's highest purse was a paltry $2 million. At this time, Deontay Wilder, he hadn't even fought on pay-per-view yet. He wasn't in America what Anthony Joshua was in the United Kingdom. And in the United Kingdom, Anthony was generating far more money than Wilder was.
Wilder didn't want to accept that he was the B-side.
So when he says that he doesn't put up much of a fight when making a fight, yeah, that's not true.
They made this guy offer after offer after offer, each one bigger than the last, to the point to where DAZN offered this guy $100 million, and he walked away from that.
Demanding to know what Anthony Joshua stood to make from the fight.
Are you kidding me?
His comments are somewhat disingenuous. Deontay continued, "It's not about overpricing yourself out of a fight and shit like that, because we're all risking our lives, so damn, let us at least get a piece of the pie."
The piece of the pie they offered Deontay was bigger than any piece of pie that he could slice for himself, including what he made in the Tyson Fury fight. Tyson Fury fights, and Deontay Wilder admitted that himself. That didn't come from me.
That's not me, the content creator, connecting the dots to arrive at a conclusion. Deontay, in his own words, admitted he stood to make more money boxing AJ than he did boxing Tyson Fury, but he chose what he chose.
And it backfired.
If not for the presence of Saudi Arabian money, Saudi Arabian interest in bringing big-time boxing to that region of the world, Deontay would have been up the creek without a paddle.
That's the truth.
The recent resurgence of Joshua versus Wilder as a conversation, as a fight, is only due to Saudi Arabian interest to bankroll it. And that way, Deontay Wilder,
It's not too late.
in spite of the poor decision-making and poor advice he was given, it's not too late to capitalize off that fight. Win or lose, Deontay Wilder could make a career-high purse, the likes of which most boxers will never see.
If the Saudis can get it done.
He seems on board, as he should be. The man is pushing 40. None of us are getting any younger, or any faster, any sharper.
But when he says that he doesn't let stipulations get in the way of making a fight, you have in the past.
Did you finally learn your lesson? Because there is such a thing as pricing yourself out of a fight. Arnold Barboza did.
Arnold Barboza, who Eddie Hearn said needed to be overpaid to fight Regis Prograis, Prograis on the June 17th card.
Barboza has claimed on his social media that Hearn was lowballing him and seemed to complain that he was only being given 3 weeks' notice. Barboza, of course, is backed by Top Rank, a rival to Hearn's Matchroom, and Barboza's manager, Rick Merrigan, has feuded with Prograis on numerous occasions over the years. We made Arnold Barboza 3 different offers to Top Rank, and the money was a lot more than what we were paying Liam Faro, Hearn said. They can talk about this money and that money. The reality is that it was 5 weeks' notice or less. I don't think Barboza was ready unless you overpaid him.
Rick Merrigan, who manages Arnold Barboza, would have me and you believe that Arnold is a 7-figure fighter.
Not fighting on undercards he is. You expect me to believe that the people at Top Rank are paying this guy in excess of $1 million to fight guys like Jose Pedraza on undercards?
No fucking way.
You're just trying to cultivate sympathy from the boxing community at large.
You're just trying to save face because you knew the Prograis fight is dangerous and you won't take it unless you're grossly overpaid.
I don't know what Arnold Barboza is going to do, Eddie Hearn said. Zorilla's lone career loss, in fact, came against Barboza last year in a 10-round bout that Barboza won by way of a unanimous decision.
Danielito Zorilla, who will be standing in for Arnold Barboza.
The merit of these decisions is a story that only time can tell, whether or not you made the right choice at the time.
At this time, it doesn't seem like Arnold has very many, if any, high-profile options aside from the Prograis fight.
You think about Deontay Wilder's decisions in the past. Deontay, who we just talked about, and how his recompense for all those poor decisions and bad advice that he got, his recompense and redemption could lie in Saudi Arabia.
Very fortunate.
Very lucky that kind of money is still lying around. But is Arnold Barboza that lucky?
Only time can tell.
But it doesn't look that promising here and now. I suppose it all depends the way you look at it. Had Arnold Barboza gone in there under these circumstances, opposite the ring Regis Prograis, I think Regis would have beat him.
Arnold's good, but he's not that good.
So perhaps turning down the fight was a smart decision, but a problem develops when you're trying to paint the other guy to be the bad guy, trying to paint the other guy who is ducking the smoke. Remember, it was Rick Merrigan, who manages Arnold Barboza, that accused Regis Prograis of ducking the fighters at Top Rank.
You can't say something like that, then turn around and turn into a picky eater.
You're scary. You're so fucking scary that he has to avoid you. He offered you a fight, and you guys were the ones that started being fussy.
Beggars can't be choosy.
Asking for dollar amounts you don't normally make. Asking for an arm and a leg to fight Regis Prograis. I thought he was the one avoiding you.
Isn't that what Rick Merrigan said?
Surely you can see the problem with that kind of a narrative. Pricing yourself out of a fight is a real thing. When the fighter and his manager are asking for a dollar amount that far exceeds the value of the fighter and far exceeds the value of the show.
This is a business.
Not talking about moral or spiritual currency. We're talking about dollars.
What the fuck we're talking about?
A fighter pricing themselves out of a fight is a real thing. It all depends on what you normally make, what you're asking for, and what the overall show is worth. If you're expecting them to pay you an arm and a leg to fight a guy,
The guy you say is ducking you.
then why do you need a small fortune just to fight him?
And what are your alternatives anyway, that you think you can walk away from Eddie Hearn's offer? You walked away from it, now what are you doing?
It's the itinerary, big shot.
Do you stand to make more in your next fight than what you were offered to fight Regis?
The truth hurts, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not here to make friends.
I'm just giving it to you straight because it's the only way I know how to give it to you.
I'm not here to play the violin for every Joe Blow pugilist that thinks you're supposed to break bank to get him to do his job.
You wanted this, didn't you say you wanted this?
It's a free country. You don't have to fight him.
It's your prerogative, it's your life.
I'm just saying that when you don't fight him, you must not have wanted it that bad.
How could you? You ain't even got no alternatives.
Is there some other title shot you've got lying around that you think you can walk away from this one? Let's see it.
Pricing yourself out of a fight is a real thing, ladies and gents, I'm sorry to say.
And this is just one example among many. In men's super middleweight news, per tweet from Michael Benson, the Canelo Alvarez versus Dmitry Bivol rematch is now in doubt, as Bivol's manager Vadim Kornilov said they don't want a rematch. A rematch cannot take place on the same terms as the fight you lost. It's stupid. We are looking forward. Artur Beterbiev is our target. Artur Beterbiev, who's set to defend his 3 alphabet titles very soon against Liverpool's former super middleweight champion Callum Smith in Artur's second home of Canada.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Dmitry Bivol and Vadim Kornilov have to wait out the outcome of that fight before making a move, before making a commitment. Because if by some chance Callum wins that fight, he's going to take those 3 belts back to Matchroom.
As far as the rematch with Canelo falling apart, it's simple. Canelo still is the A-side. He still is the bigger draw, the big marquee fighter, the big marquee name.
He brings all the value to the fight.
That didn't change just because Dmitry Bivol won the first one. Even if I sympathize,
And I do.
I understand, but the dichotomy of things hasn't really changed. He still is the bigger draw, the big marquee attraction, so that gives him leverage in most, if not all, situations. Just not this one, because Team Bivol won't be swayed.
Manipulated.
Most other fighters would probably go ahead with a rematch on Canelo Alvarez's terms on the premise that he provides the biggest purse, the biggest payday for anyone at or around these weights. But the Dmitry Bivol people have been insistent.
They want to fight at 168, or they don't want to fight. They want the fight to be for Canelo's belts this time, not just Dimitri's.
As a result of that, the Dmitry Bivol people are looking to move on from the Canelo rematch due to stupid demands and set their sights on our tour.
He's over there at Top Rank. Are they willing to cross over?
Do they have the autonomy to do that, or are they still under contract with Matchroom? And if they are, would Eddie Hearn allow it? Would Eddie allow Dmitry to cross over to Top Rank for Artur Better Beef should he beat Callum Smith?
I think he would. He allowed Alicia to go to Boxer for Michaela Mayer. He allowed John Ryder to go to Queensbury for Zach Parker.
Felix Cash to Queensbury for Denzel Bentley. If push came to shove, I don't think Matchroom would stand in the way of Dmitry Bivol's next move, even if he is under contract.
Looks like Canelo versus Bivol 2 is off, and I can't say that I'm sad about it. Vadim Kornilov said.
In my opinion, they don't want the rematch, and they are saying that to justify themselves and make another fight like they did with Golovkin, John Ryder, and maybe Berlanga. A rematch cannot take place on the same terms as the fight you lost. It's stupid. We are moving forward. Artur Better Beef is our target.
I understand Canelo's logic, but I also understand Dimitri's. I understand Canelo's logic in the sense that if it's not at 175, then what's the point? He wants to return to the scene of where it happened.
The division. The whole point of that was to become a champion at light heavyweight.
You bring this guy down to 168 and says you beat him, even if that's what he wanted, even if that's his demand, people aren't going to give Canelo credit for it.
They're not.
Nope.
They're just going to pick apart the victory and say the only reason Canelo won was because the guy dropped down to super middleweight. You take Andre Ward, for example, who actually picked Caleb Plant to beat Canelo Alvarez, only so after the fight he could question the legitimacy of Canelo's victories.
He's not the only one that does that, you know. I saw a lot of people picking Caleb Plant to win that fight.
A lot of Haymanites, I should say, that were holding out hope that Caleb would be too big and too slick for Canelo Alvarez, only so when Canelo knocks the guy out, they don't give him any credit for it. They may say that they want Canelo to fight this guy at 168, but if he does and he wins, they'll deprive him of credit the same way they did before. So I understand Canelo Alvarez's reasoning, his logic, that at 175, if he fights him there again, there won't be any excuses. Simultaneously, I understand Dmitry Bivol's logic. I understand him as well. At 168, Canelo won't have any excuses. You can't say that I was too big for you, or that the weight wasn't right if I dropped down to where you campaign.
And why should I defend my title against you again? I beat you already. I won the first fight. Shouldn't that entitle me?
Give me some allowances. Give me some pull, some say-so, as to what happens in the second fight. Dmitry Bivol will not allow himself to be swayed by Canelo Alvarez's marquee value, even if he does represent the biggest purse, the biggest payday for any fighter at or around these weights. Dimitri's not a panhandler, a bum,
a clout chaser.
like some of these guys are. He's not just going to march to the beat of Canelo's drum based on Canelo's marquee value, and I respect that about Dmitry.
He's not a parasite like some of these guys are. He's a consummate professional. That's what he's always been.
Makes me proud to be from Russia.
You're not from Russia.
But I knew somebody that was. Dmitry Bivol has his own mind and his own...
I respect it. I respect it. And I can't say that I'm too broken up about the rematch not happening, because that's not the fight I wanted to see in September anyway. I want Canelo to take care of business at his own weight, where he reigns as undisputed champion. I want him to fight either David Benavidez or Demetrius Andrade.
It's time to take out the trash. I've been saying it for weeks.
He's not fighting Dimitri again. He's free to fight David Benavidez. He's free to fight Demetrius Andrade. I'd be happy with either one.
Dimitri Bivol is not so old that this fight can't be revisited 1 fight from now, 2 fights from now. Dimitri Bivol is in his physical prime, whereas some speculate that it's Canelo who's in decline, that it's Canelo who's on the back nine, on the premise that he's been a pro boxer since he was 15 years old. He's got something like 60 fights or over 60 fights.
He keeps a busier schedule than all of his contemporaries. David Benavidez,
Demetrius Andrade, Jermall Charlo, these guys that he's supposedly afraid of. There's no shame in Canelo Alvarez losing to Dimitri Bivol at a weight that most dare not venture. The aforementioned fighters certainly haven't.
the Three Stooges.
I say, let this guy take care of business at super middleweight. Let Dimitri do the same at light heavyweight. And if they both come out on top, then they can fight again. Undisputed champion versus undisputed champion. For me and my money, that would be the ideal scenario. David Benavidez in September is what I want, though Demetrius Andrade would be an adequate substitute. It's about time somebody shut that guy up.
Sick of that guy.
There's a bit of he said, she said between Team Canelo and Team Benavidez. Eddie Reynoso earlier this week claimed that he hadn't received an offer from anyone. Nobody from Top Rank, nobody from Matchroom, nobody from the PBC, whereas Samson Lukowicz, he says the opposite. He said he sent correspondence on Monday.
He said, she said. That's what it is. The Canelo supporters are going to support what Eddie says.
Yeah.
And the Haymanites,
Those pieces of trash.
human garbage, is going to side with whatever Samson Lukowicz said, because Samson Lukowicz is so fucking trustworthy, right?
Right. It's not like this is the same guy that over-marinated the Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez fight for years.
He admitted it. He admitted it more than once.
If by some chance Team Canelo and Team Benavidez can't work things out, then target Demetrius Andrade. It's my understanding that his engagement with the PBC was a one-fight deal, a one-fight engagement. If push comes to shove, he can go back to Matchroom for a Canelo fight, and I'm sure he'd be willing to.
Yeah.
All he wants is a payday.
Payday. You want payday. I know that.
He doesn't want to fight Canelo because he thinks he's going to win. He wants to fight Canelo because he wants...
Payday. You want payday. I know that.
He's a fucking horrible boxer. Horrible!
Horrible fighter. Horrible fighter.
His hapless efforts over the years to try and stay relevant by riding somebody else's wave based on what they're doing and who they're fighting, all while he plays it safe.
Horrible fighter. Horrible fighter.
I'd like Canelo to fight either David Benavidez or Demetrius Andrade in the event that Team Benavidez and Team Canelo can't work it out. Either one of those two guys are fine by me. What I'm not fine with is an Edgar Berlanga fight. Edgar Berlanga.
No, I'm not going for that.
I'm not. There's no way to defend Canelo fighting someone like Edgar in September.
But those two will suffice.
Frankenvidez or Poo-Poo Andrade? Doo-Doo Demetrius Boo-Boo Andrade?
It's time for Canelo to take out the trash.